2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. And there he is, Darren Dreger. There he is, Darren Dreger. Yeah, Darren Dreger joining us in studio. What a crazy day. All of a sudden, Tocchet to Philly, Adam Foote to Vancouver.
Yeah.
What's this all about? Where did this come from so quickly? And did Vancouver try to top the Philly news by, like, if you're announcing Tocchet, we're going to come over the top with Adam Foote?
Well, they weren't aligned, but they kind of are, because if Rick Tocchet, if Adam Foote didn't get the Vancouver head coaching job, then I think it would be a safe bet that he was sliding over to the Philadelphia Flyers and he was going to continue to working with Rick Tocchet. So, in this case, the Canucks like what they had in Rick Tocchet. They like what they have in Adam Foote. There's familiarity there. The players like Adam Foote, so that's a consideration. And despite the fact that he doesn't have NHL head coaching experience, he's been around the game his entire life. Coached a bit with Kelowna in the Western Hockey League. So I think it really came down to Foote, Malhotra, who's also in the organization in the American League. And then they kicked tires on some other candidates. I heard Marco Sturm. Mitch Love is another one with the Washington Capitals. I heard they interviewed Luke Richardson, but at the end of the day, it felt like they wanted to keep it in-house.
If Elias Pettersson thinks that sometimes the assistant coach is like a buffer to players, where it's like, hey, everything's good, you're not as bad as you think. If he thinks it's going to be any more of like a rough ride because Adam Foote is now, might be worse with Adam Foote as his head coach, because he is going to say, I want to, like, he will be all over that guy.
Yeah. Well, I do know that even before Rick Tocchet told the Canucks, okay, I'm not coming back, the conversations that he had, exit meetings with players, conversations with management, Tocchet told players, okay, here's where I need you to be when training camp starts. Here is what your marching orders are for the offseason. So you can imagine what that conversation was like with Pettersson, because that was the knock on him, right? Like, he showed up in training camp, but he wasn't ready. And it's tough to get ready in season. And then that caused all kinds of rifts inside that room and maybe to a degree what happened with JT Miller and all of that. But, Adam Foote is going to be all over this group. But management still has to, put their fingerprints on it as well.
Absolutely.
There's work to be done there in a big way, especially up front.
Yeah, well, Besser, where do things stand with that? Like, is it foregone conclusion he's walking or what?
I wouldn't say foregone conclusion, but it's headed that way.
Yeah.
I think so. Why wouldn't he at this stage at least get to the open market and see what's available to him? I can't imagine the Vancouver Canucks are going to roll out a contract that would encourage him not to go to July 1st, and it might be best for everybody just to clean out.
So, Dregs, with the coaching carousel, do you sense that more is coming? Who are the next wave, the hot names that are being bandied about by the other organizations, because there's still jobs to be filled?
There is. Jay Woodcroft's name is out there again. I don't know specifically where he's interviewed, but I know that he's had a few interviews with teams that have that level of interest. I'm hearing David Quinn's name is out there in some capacity again. David Carl's name from Denver has been out there for a while. And, then you get into all the assistant coaches. Like, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in deep here against the Florida Panthers. But Lane Lambert is a guy whose name is out there on a consistent basis and probably should be. He's deserving of that. Glenn Gulletson with the Edmonton Oilers, again, they're tied up. But there are a number of good qualified NHL associate or assistant coaches. And then you dive into, some of the college guys that have been rumored. I mentioned Carl. And you look at the American Hockey League. And it's interesting if we just dart back to Vancouver for a moment here. I think that Manny Malhotra was plan B. They decided on Adam Foote probably because of maybe his experience dating all the way back to Colorado, right? Maybe. But they have a lot of time for Manny Malhotra. But most clubs do now with their American League head coach. They're not afraid to promote their guys.
Why is it so difficult? You see occasionally a young, fresh coach pop onto the scene, but at the GM spot, it's like, is it just because of fear of lack of experience that a guy like Ken Holland, why is it so difficult? Kyle Dubas is an example. That happened a long time ago, but you don't really see like a a younger, different mind kind of enter the equation for a GM position?
It's a good question. Now, you're talking about a GM job or the GM coming in and hiring?
Being hired as a GM, like a fresh face on the scene, some kind of young, brilliant mind where it's like, this guy deserves a shot. I mean, Danny Briere is an example, former player. Yeah. He kind of was in the organization, but it seems like for the most part, an organization will go to an older veteran guy that's been around the block.
Yeah, I haven't really dug deep on what's going on with the New York Islanders. Matthew Darch's name is out there again, and I mean, that's a name that we're all familiar with.
There's an example of a guy where you would think that he's going to get a shot sooner or later.
Has to get a shot and deserves to get a shot. He's worked very, very hard. And continues to do good things. I wouldn't be surprised if he landed with the New York Islanders, but that's not on point with what John Collins and the ownership group of the Islanders have been looking for. Like, they would have loved to have lured Ken Holland into the Islanders. Jeff Gorton's name has kind of loosely been speculated out there. Well, I mean, you're the Montreal Canadiens. You're probably not letting him go,
right?
Why would you? So if you get to that place, or Marc Bergevin is out there too, the LA Kings decided that Ken Holland was their best fit, and they've had Marc Bergevin there working closely with Rob Blake for at least a couple of years now. So maybe Berge is another candidate that surfaces with the Isles, but that doesn't surface what you're talking about. Darch would, and there are qualified guys like that out there that just need and are waiting for a crowd.
Do you think Lou Lamoriello is like actively seeking employment?
Dude, he was getting his visa done.
I understand that, but like if you would, he would have more than enough reason to, if he got a call saying, "Guys, I think I've had enough." Right. But if he got a call, would he field it and say, "I'll be there tomorrow for an interview"?
Let's just clarify one thing before he answers the question. Isn't the man 82 years old?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, retire already. But if someone calls Lou and goes, "I want to interview for the GM job," do you think he would accept that invitation?
Was he not spotted in the Buffalo airport?
Yes, but it wasn't for the Sabres. Yeah. Go ahead, Dreger.
He was in Buffalo renewing his Nexus.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm always amused by that. Look, I mean, somebody spots Lou Lamoriello walking through an airport, especially in Buffalo with everything that's gone on around Kevin Adams and the Buffalo Sabres. You snap a photo, you post it. Maybe he's coming in to take over the hockey operation.
He's in a suit, man. Like, mix in some Lululemons or something.
I have never in my life seen Lou in anything but that dark blue suit.
Maybe it's a senior advisor possibility. Who knows, man?
A little nexus, a nexus and a senior advisor.
I know that there has been dialogue between the Buffalo Sabres and Lou Lamoriello. But it was initially in an advisory capacity, and it didn't sound like he was keenly interested in that. But, Adams is the general manager. I'm told that his path, philosophy, direction still aligns with Terry Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres. So Lou's not going into Buffalo to answer to Kevin Adams. Right. So if they're not going to hire somebody in that capacity, I think Kenny Holland would have had interest in a Buffalo job. But again, in that, president or senior of hockey operations capacity. So we'll see. But in answer to your question, Brian, I mean, I doubt it that Lou lands another general manager job. I doubt it.
Yeah.
But he's in incredible shape for an 82-year-old dude. The mind is as sharp as it's ever been. I mean, Islander fans, if they are listening, going, "What are you talking about?"
Well, I got the first overall pick, right? Like, Lou, that's a mastermind play.
So here's the other thing, and I think that Islanders job is a bit of a spicy one, for a couple of reasons. If Lou is still there, nobody with any NHL experience wants to go in there because that Lou is still pulling the strings, right? Or at least it feels that way. And you've got Patrick Roy with 3 more years at 3.5 schmil per. Well, they're not firing Patrick Roy anytime soon. And Patrick can be a challenge. I know that'll come as a surprise to you guys, but he can be a bit of especially if Lou is out the door and Patrick wants to completely renovate his roster, which some think he does.
Well, we should ask, one of the first moves Pierre Engvall level of concern.
Hey, he had a great stretch run, Noodles.
He did. He did.
He got
That
the
is one of
message
that's got to go down as one of the most bizarre contracts
of all time.
7-year deal at 3 point something for Pierre Engvall.
I actually, when it was tweeted, I remember looking and thinking that somebody's account got hacked.
Yeah.
And I'm not being a smart. I honestly, that's how it read to me. We're like in that silly season where there's, at real Pierre LeBrun 2.
Yeah.
Something like
Someone was, I have the same impression. I still think it may be.
It was reminiscent of
maybe got
Jeff
duped.
Finger, where it was like people thought the money and the years were screwed up, where it was $4 million over 4 years, but it was per year.
That was one of the funniest experiences I've ever had on live television at TSN with Gord Miller when he reported that. And I mean, it was Jeff Jackson, it was Cliff Fletcher who was helping Jeff at the time. And I remember Gord, whoever he was talking to, saying, like, that's total? And he holds the phone out like this. No, that's per year. We're like,
per year, man. We love this guy. Darren Dreger in studio. So when you think of Game 5 tonight, Leafs Panthers, from a Leaf perspective, where does your head go first?
Oh, well, I'll be more disciplined than they were in the first period of Game 4 in Florida. I mean, that's just common sense. And if you're lucky enough to get a power play, wouldn't it be nice to get everything rolling, get the 5-on-5 fueled with a power play goal?
Yeah.
And preferably it's number 34 or 16 that get the job done there, right?
That's right.
I mean, and it's look, I mean, we're going to talk about this all night long. I know this, but it's not to a lack of effort. We can appreciate what those guys are doing. And I want to flip it a little bit. Okay, I understand Auston Matthews gets paid what he gets paid, largely for being a game breaker and scoring goals in the National Hockey League. And Mitch gets paid and will get paid for being the playmaker, for the guy who sets up that sort of scenario. But how about a little bit of credit for the Florida Panthers here, right? Like, I mean, they know that you're not going to lock down Auston Matthews. But what you need to try and do, and they've been very effective, at least they were, on home ice in Florida, is limiting the time.
Well,
that
Paul
Marner
Maurice
has,
said at the
right?
beginning of the series, he's like, they're going to get theirs. The thing is with Auston is he hasn't got his yet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, and it didn't happen against Boston. It didn't happen the year before against Florida. Like, at some point, yes, you credit the opponent. They're allowed to play. They're allowed to defend. But he's just got to break through it. It's that simple. And Marner's no different. I mean, you look at Mitch's career in games 5, 6, and 7, the stats fall off a cliff. Right, we've got Game 5 tonight. Like I think he's played 18 career Game 5, 6, and 7s. Yeah, and he's got 8 points. I think it is 8 assists, no goals. He's got, I think, what has he got? 1 shot on goal in the last 2 or 3 games. Like it's right there for them. Like they've got to perform. They've got to perform, and you've just got to help lead your team to wins. It's not people aren't. I've been saying this for 2 weeks now. I've been saying it. It feels like for 9 years. No one is asking anything of these two players that any other fan base is not asking of their 2 best players. Yeah. Like people in Florida are like, hey, Barkov, you got to have a night. Right? Like they're not saying, hey, maybe AJ Greer could possibly do something. No, they're looking at their best players. Same thing in Vegas tonight. You look at McDavid and Draisaitl. You look at Eichel and Stone. You got to get it done. And it's a great opportunity for them. Yeah. Like they're right here. It's right in front of them. Go take advantage.
Where are you guys as sage hockey people on the idea that, Berube tinkers with a lineup? I mean, he wouldn't give up anything after the morning skate game time decision. If we make changes, it's not injury related.
I would have tried Willie with Auston just to kind of, I think Willie's got his
tinkered a little bit with it. He tinkered a little bit, but not sustained.
I would tinker with it too, Dregs, and even put in some different players, at the bottom of your roster.
And Robertson?
Camp is,
he hasn't played in like a month and a half.
Robertson is the guy for me, at least. He's just a different look. Like he's got some speed. He can score. Obviously he's probably been chomping at the bit because it didn't go well for him at the start of the playoffs. Like that's the thing. It doesn't. You're not married to it saying this is what it's going to be the rest of the playoffs.
Right.
It's a one gamer. I look at the adjustments teams make throughout these last 8 teams that are still here. There's guys that are getting added in, and DeBoer gets Heiskanen back, but he keeps 11-7 because he wants to find some more ice time. Like to me, this is in-game adjustments, sort of, or game-to-game adjustments. I would have no problem if I saw just a little bit different tonight. Just throw something a little bit different.
Well, and arguably, if you're looking at bottom 6 roles here, like Max Domi's the only guy that scored a goal in the bottom six.
Well, that goes back to the best players because it looks like some of those guys, they are so far away from even getting a shot on net. Like, I don't remember the last time Calle Jarnkrok's got a shot. Like,
no,
they're really far away from it. So these guys, there's not much of an option for guys that have to step up.
Yeah, and that is reasonable. I mean, and at some point they've got to contribute something. You know, whoever it's going to be, whether it's Jarnkrok or Lorentz or what have you. But if it's not going to be there, at a minimum, they've got to chop up their shifts. Like, they got to get out of their 0-0 every time you're on the ice. Yeah. And then you're relying on your best players to take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for change for the sake of change, I mean, you could see Kampf coming in, despite the fact he hasn't played. Jarnkrok comes out. You've got the penalty kill spot basically sealed off there, or should. You know, now it's debatable, but I'm with you. Like, I why wouldn't you give Nicky Robertson a crack if it doesn't work?
Well, and there's guys that have played themselves into questionable roles. Like Jarnkrok is one, let's face it. Bobby McMahon hasn't done anything.
No.
So,
and he's taking some ill-timed penalties.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if McMahon came out, it would be, I think, a two-way street. You maybe want to get a new look with Robertson, but you're also maybe sending him a message.
I'm disappointed in McMahon, guys. I thought he kind of established himself as like not a top-end player, but a guy that scored 20 goals this year. I thought he could find his way onto a top six role and kind of stay there. So for him to go, I think it's like 20 games or something without scoring a goal. I thought he would be like a key guy, like just the way he moves, physical. Yes, I thought he would be really effective, as it hasn't happened for him.
I think he's better suited as a top 9. So he's going to have to settle in on a third line and play north-south, play heavy, play physical, and chip in offensively when he gets his looks. Like, that's really what it is, because he didn't have the chemistry with Tavares and Nylander that you wanted or expected, right? That top 6 role, that left side has been a revolving door all year long, right?
Yeah, it has. Do you expect any carryover from the kind of nastiness of the last game? I mean, it's not like Barkov and Domi are going to fight off the draw tonight.
Only thing could happen would be when it's 5-1 for another team.
I've got it. I found it amusing, and I can't share who it was. Somebody from the Florida Panthers said to me after watching the Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights, he goes, I keep hearing you guys, not necessarily us here collectively, media in general, talking about how nasty and mean this series is between the Leafs. He goes, it's not mean at all. It's not even close to being nasty or mean. He goes, I'm watching battle after battle between the Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights the other night.
There's a scrum after every whistle.
He goes, I'm thoroughly entertained because that's playoff hockey. We're not there yet. So, just tamp down the brakes
another layer is what he's suggesting. Okay, let's get to that tonight.
Yeah,
I like
the
that
other
idea.
thing too wasn't that Frederick Haig fight? That was the first fight of the playoffs. Was it not?
Yeah, first of the playoffs.
Which is kind of surprising, is it not?
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't a fight in Florida, Tampa.
I get all the time in the world for him.
Yeah, Frederick's a good player, man. He's perfectly suited for the role that he plays.
Yeah.
There's a ceiling on him, but.
Are you guys not shocked that was the first fight?
Yeah, you're right. Though.
Of the playoffs?
Like, when you think of, there's been some moments, like, the Wilson-Anderson, that wasn't a fight, but like, you thought maybe I was waiting for those two to go. It never happened.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right. Tampa, Florida, there were some multiple suspensions, nasty plays that never led to gloves dropping.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, again, maybe that's just the nature of the playoffs, and that's why. Like, if you're the Leafs, and there's been this chatter about Kachuk and Nylander, and them not happy with Florida's not fighting tonight.
That Haig looks like a tough bastard.
He's a big guy.
He's an hombre.
Yeah,
he is.
But that was just like in watching that, and the announcers go, the first fight of the playoffs. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like I kept thinking I must have seen a fight. You're right, Hayes. Like the Anderson Wilson bench, that was like pretty heavy.
Close.
It was close, but it
close.
Just actual gloves off. And I thought that Tampa series, like that was a bloodbath for 5 games, and there was no fights in that one. That's just very unique.
Nothing. Anyway. All right, Dregs. We got to get to our PGA picks. Do you want to hear us make our picks, or you can leave? You can do whatever you want.
No, I'm fascinated by it.
Do you want to hear us make some picks? Okay, here we go. The Overdrive PGA picks are brought to you by TaylorMade. When you need more performance, distance, and speed from your golf ball, it's time to switch. Learn more about the all-new TP5 and TP5X at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. All right, quickly. We've established you got McIlroy, I got Scheffler, so that's right off the bat.
I'm gonna toss a 3-pack at you, and I think you'll be in agreement because you won't be in love with all of them, and a Canadian.
Okay, we need a Canadian, and we're doing at least a 5-pack here.
Mac Hughes, Koepka, Ludwig.
Okay, right. I like that. I will counter with Thomas. I love the way JT's playing right now. I'm going to throw Schauffele out there. His putting is concerning, but he's capable of getting hot again, and obviously won this tournament last year. And I'll take Connors. I'll take Connors as my Canadian. All right, why don't you throw another 2-pack at me, because this is going exactly the way I expected it to. This is what he does. He hijacks
did you take JT?
Of course I took JT. Did. I got Thomas and Schauffele.
I've got to go Rick. I'm going to go Rick Hovland, and I'm going to go Jordan Spieth to do what Rory did. And
you think he's going to complete the slam at a place like this?
I'm going right back to the well. I swore off this guy 2 weeks ago, but I think he might get some magic back. But he's got to keep it on the earth. This guy hits his golf ball in places one's ever seen.
It's insane. All right, so you're telling me I have a 2-pack here, and one of them can be Bryson DeChambeau?
Oh.
I'll take Bryson. I will take Bryson.
That was a big-time miss by me.
I will take Bryson, and this is the problem. We're talking about how far you got to hit it. I want to take Shane Lowry. He never ends up winning, but he's right there. I think he'll be in contention. I just don't know if he hits the ball far enough. But I've talked myself into it. I will take Shane Lowry. Okay, do you want one more, 2 more maybe, tops? Dregs, this is very good stuff.
I'm going to go with a couple of interesting characters.
Riveting.
Billy Zaltz. Billy Zaltz, he can move the rock.
Yes, he
can. And my main man from Australia.
No, I wanted him next.
Si-Woo Kim.
You're taking Si-Woo.
Wow. Yes.
Are you sure you don't mean Min-Woo Lee?
That's
Australia.
Who I meant. Min-Woo Lee. Let him cook the chef.
Yes, you're taking Min-Woo. Yeah. See, this is what happens,
nonsense.
Dregs. All right, see you later, Dregs. Good seeing you. There's Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider. Because you said Australian, I knew you meant Min-Woo.
Yeah.
All right.
Si-Woo. If you said, great pick, I would have hated that pick.
No, I knew what you were talking about.
You could have jammed him up, though.
I could have jammed him up, but that's not how I'm wired. Okay, I'll take Colin Morikawa. And then with my last pick and the final pick of this, oh, man, I don't love any of these other options.
Tommy Kim?
No, you know who I'm going to take? Keegan Bradley. My boy, Keegan Bradley. I love being on Keegan.
Hang on a sec. I can't have Keegan. Scotty. You want
Scott Vale's my guy. I love Scott Vale.
If you want Min-Woo, you take Min-Woo, and I got to take Keegan.
You want to make a trade?
Yeah.
I'll take Min-Woo. You take Keegan.
Done.
Deal. All right, done. Everything's finished. Everything's wrapped up. You got all that written down back there, Cam? Oh, you guys know what you're doing, right?
They want to quit right now.
They are mortified.
Yeah, they've had enough.
Like, Dregs lasted halfway, and he goes, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
All right, so we just made a trade. I got Min-Woo.
Yeah,
I love Min-Woo.
Scotty Vale would have texted me and said, I can't believe what you just did.
Oshawa's own Scotty Vale. Because he's always playing.
He was on with Bobby Weeks detailing the course.
Oh, he's
starting his broadcasting career.
Yeah, he's a beautician. He's a great guy. There's a lot of good players still out there, but maybe we'll add to after 18 we'll add a player tomorrow. We each get to add one player, right? The Overdrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. When you need more performance, distance, and speed from your golf ball, it's time to switch. Learn more about the all-new TP5 and the TP5X at TaylorMadeGolf.ca.
I like that crooked leg little weasel, Rusty Henley.
I do too, but I don't know if he hits it far enough. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's going to have his khaki pants on and his standard hat.
His baggy pants that are 4 times too big. And I'm telling you, he wears a size 17 shoe. He's 5'10". Get a load at Rusty Henley's wheels.
Okay, you take Henley.
Okay.
I'll take Cantlay. I'm taking Cantlay. You take Henley.
I'll take Rusty.
All right, I like a 6-hour round. Patrick Cantlay. All right, there you go. There's a lot of good picks there. A lot of good picks. I think this is Scheffler's tourney, man. I really do. And like McIlroy can bomb it, and he's feeling good, and he sounds confident.
Dude, this course, he's won on it 4 times.
I know. He
this
dominates
guy might
Quail
do the
Hollow.
Grand Salami again, circle around again this year.
He dominates
that would
Quail
be
Hollow.
Something.
Speeth is not winning this tournament, though.
You don't think so?
Like, you realize he's just not. I don't want to say that because I enjoy watching him play.
Dude, he's all over the map, man. But there's one day that he's going to show up. He can only do it for 4 holes, though. He'll go 8 under for 4 holes, and then he'll go double, triple, lose his ball in a tent, and his caddy starts scratching his beard, and then he's gone off the universe.
I know, that's my concern with him. He can't keep it on the rails. All right, quick prop bet. Do you think anyone gets arrested at this year's tournament?
No.
You're going to bet the no. Noodles?
I'll say no, but did I read it's just a joke that he's taking an Uber in the mornings?
I would hope so. Like, get Scheffler a driver, please. If you're the number one player in the world and you've made as much money as he has the last 2 years,
get a
driver.
helicopter.
Mandatory.
Just get a helicopter.
Yeah, fly right in. Fly right in there.
Ridiculous.
All right, there we go. We got the Leafs, Panthers tonight. Panel work for you. I'll be down at the game. I'm doing post-game stuff and everything.
Mini Jerry, quickly. Mini Jerry, my first words out of my mouth to start tomorrow's show are, what a night and what a game by Auston Matthews.
32%.
Well, you got to go 34 if you're going to go 30.
34%. 34%. It's just playing the field. I mean, it doesn't mean they can't win and it wasn't someone else that had a great night.
51%.
You got money. You got money on the board that the big dog cooks tonight.
Once again, you guys have no sack. I am going 100% Mini Jerry. I will look deep into your eyes, Leafs Nation, and say, what a game and what a night by Auston Matthews.
All right. I'm hoping that you're correct on that. We'll find out tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
We'll chat then.
There he is, the O-Dog. Jeff O'Neill, Frankie Corrado coming up. Mark Masters from the rink. Our best bets powered by FanDuel still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Frankie Corrado in studio in half an hour. Mark Masters from the rink. Leafs Panthers Game 5 right here on TSN Radio tonight. Man, I haven't been jacked up like this for a game in a long time. Long time in terms of a Maple Leaf game. It's best 2 out of 3 series. Everything's been set, right? We've had 2 off days. We're all curious. What are the lineup changes going to possibly be? Could Camp play? Could Nick Robertson play? But we do know Joseph Woll is going to start, and I guess that's where I'm curious where your head goes, Noodles, in terms of Woll versus Bobrovsky. The resumes speak for themselves. Bob's going to the Hall of Fame. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Joseph Woll still a relatively young player trying to find his way, but I thought he played as well as he did, the other night. That was a draw across the board. Woll and Bob. It was that Woll's teammates couldn't get on the board for him. I think you'd sign up for that right now. Like if I gave you the exact same performance out of Joseph Woll, I think you'd feel very good if you're the Maple Leafs tonight. Well,
yeah, he's got to have. I think the biggest thing is he's got to give them an opportunity, and. We've seen it. If a guy has a bad goal against, it's deflating. It's the timing of the saves. A lot of that, what it is Joseph Woll has to give them an opportunity to gain that confidence, whether it's a good start or if Florida has a push, he makes a couple good saves to either slow things down or, just show them that he's into the game. Bobrovsky didn't start the series well, and you can see him building, and he's gotten, better each game. Woll was thrown in, let's be honest, thrown into the Wolves.
Yeah, it was.
It was
Absolutely.
Anthony Stolarz. It was his net, and rightfully so. So Joseph Woll's done a good job kind of coming in and stabilizing the net. But, there's a lot of pressure. Both of these goaltenders are going to be under immense pressure. Bob's been there. Woll is still working on being there, but, it's home ice, and hopefully his team protects him and does a good job. You're a lot of times as a goaltender, you're the direct result of how the team plays in front of you. And last game, the Leafs didn't play that well. Woll was, kept them in it. You have to argue that if Woll has a slow start, you have to argue that the Leafs keep him in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like that is a possibility tonight.
Right.
If he doesn't have his A game, it's not a regular season game where you just move past it. Then you got to find a way to win 5-4, 6-5. That may be the way the game plays out. I do think a higher scoring game probably benefits the Leafs more than the Panthers, just because of it takes Florida out of their comfort zone, and it might look and feel like it did the first 2 games of the series, and obviously the Leafs won both of those games.
Right.
But I think you look at Bob and what he's capable of doing. And I still don't know how much of Game 4 was him dialing in and kind of announcing, okay, I've arrived in this series, and how much of it was that the Leafs just didn't test him enough? That they didn't really have enough grade A opportunities to make him feel uncomfortable or put him in a vulnerable position. But I think, I would still say that Joseph Woll is going to have to steal one of these 2 wins. Like I think, and it may not be extreme. Doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be a 45 save shutout. Like that's the true definition of a stolen game. It doesn't have to be like that. But I would use the Ottinger example last night as a good example. I thought Winnipeg played well. I thought they tested them, and I wouldn't say Ottinger stole the game because Granlund had a hat trick. You got to give credit where credit's due.
Right.
But he played such a massive factor in stifling Winnipeg. And I think that is going to have to be the formula for one of the 2 wins if you're going to beat Florida.
100%.
It still has to apply. Joseph Woll's got to do it.
It does. He has to give them that opportunity, and it's all the timing of these saves. We talked about it. Ottinger had 2 massive saves on Kyle Connor.
Mm-hmm.
That's their most lethal goal scorer, and he made 2 massive saves. And what does Dallas do right after? Relatively very close right after those saves, they score.
Yep.
So that's the difference. Is the timing of some of these saves can really propel you, to momentum or to propel you to a win. And Ottinger looked dialed in, like he. They got one moldy one. Ehlers threw one to the net from a bad angle, and it found its way through. But outside of that, he was rock solid and dialed in. He looked really sharp.
Well,
really,
and it's amazing, how things change. And now you've got the Oilers playing Golden Knights tonight, and like Stuart Skinner is always going to be a story. The goaltending is always going to be a story. I think, especially with that team and that market. Yet it has cooled off so significantly since Game 4. Like going into Game 4, all we did was talk about Skinner, and how he gave up the goal on Riley Smith, and where's Pickard when you need him, and now and then he goes out, pitches a shutout, the team plays well, and I have not sensed a lot of anxiety kind of hovering around that topic.
I mean, I saw a pretty funny tweet coming out of Edmonton going, the Edmonton Oilers are going to be forced to go back to their starting goaltender.
Right, he's their number one guy. He's supposed to be there.
He played in 82 games for them last year, regular season and playoffs. Like, he has been their guy. And, yes, wildly inconsistent this season. Pickard won 22 games, I think, 21 or 22 games for them, especially played well down the stretch with the Skinner injury. But in the end, we talk about it all the time. It's what have you done for me lately? Well, I think he answered a lot of critics. It's one game, but it was one game that he needed. Now let's see what he follows it up with, because honestly, it'll get noisy again if he's no good tonight. And
it happens quickly, man.
So it
does.
It's the pressure and the swings in the playoffs, as you and I can attest, are wild. They're just all over the map. Like you win, people are on a high. You lose, they're on a low. And that's the fan base. I don't know what it's like in the room. But, Stuart Skinner said, geez, I didn't know it was that noisy. He had to know it at some point.
He had to know. I don't think he's not a dummy, man. Like, it's impossible to run. You may not know the extremity, the extreme nature. And, the idea, there are a lot of people, myself included, who live online. That's not a real world. And you can't escape that. I don't know if it's happening. I think it's more difficult for younger players to escape that. But it is feasible that Stuart Skinner doesn't have any social media, and he doesn't know about what people are yelling and screaming about online. So from that standpoint, that is possible. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's possible. But he had to know, even within his own room, that his teammates were looking at him side-eye at times.
Sure.
You lose the first 2 games against L.A. the way you lost, and you get pulled and they put Pickard in, and then they don't lose, and then you go in and they lose. It's like, come on, dude. Are you kidding me? Like,
you need to find it and agree.
Forget the egg avatar on Twitter. Look at the guy beside you in the stall. He's probably like, are you serious? We need you here.
As 100%. And as an athlete, they're their own worst critics. He's, he doesn't need media or fans or, the coach even saying, hey, we need more from you. He's looking at it going, I need more from myself. And easier said than done. But it was a big challenge the other night. I thought, Edmonton played fantastic in front of him. So he wasn't exposed to 8 breakaways or odd man rushes and stuff. Like, they did a very good job of of really dictating the pace of the game and protecting him. Yes, did he make a couple good saves? Absolutely. And good timely saves, especially in the first period. Barbashev was in alone. If he gets scored, if that was game 1 against LA, that goes in the net.
That's going in.
And it looks different,
yes, right through the pads, it's going in.
Exactly. So the point being is he made the saves that he should have the other night and looked good doing it. And that's a lot of times confidence. That just shows your team like, hey, I'm locked in here, I'm dialed in, I'm ready to go. And then your team goes, okay, well, we're going to protect you as well. They go hand in hand, and that's where the weird disconnect with some of these games, like Hellebuck and his team on the road in St. Louis. Like, there was just a disconnect. Like, the team would have these breakdowns, and then you're going, okay, well, you're the Vezina winner. You can clean this mess up. And it didn't happen. Like, he would let the goal in, and like, okay, now we're down 5-0, and it's the halfway through the second period, and we got to put the other guy in. Like, it's been crazy, some of the storylines here in the playoffs. But Joseph Woll, Bobrovsky, Stuart Skinner, Aiden Hill hasn't been.
He's got to be better, man, and he's got to stop flopping around. And like, where do you stand on that with the contact? Because the Oilers are crashing the net. Like, there is no questioning about that. But there was the one clip that went viral. I saw it today where I can't remember who was skating through the crease. It might have been Connor Brown. And Hill puts his foot out and then claims that he got clipped, and it was so blatantly obvious that he was faking it.
It was Janmark.
Okay, it was Janmark.
And they click skates, and then Hill goes down, and Janmark, I think, got a penalty off of it. Mm-hmm. There was another one where Zach Hyman goes through, and he pushes Hyman, and Hyman kind of launches himself back. Evander Kane was he was a menace the other night.
Yes.
Like, that's the one where they score on him and then Kane runs him over and then all of Vegas starts chasing him. But I thought Aiden Hill did a very good job of getting it back on the rails, because I thought he was on tilt in the first period. He was chopping at guys going by.
Yep.
And it's fine to play physical and play with emotion, but you have to, back it up. And what happened, he was taking swipes at guys, but he was still digging it out of his net. That's the frustrating part, is he's absorbing contact and there's no calls here, but the crowd's cheering because it's a goal. Like, that's the Henrique goal between the legs, pops it. We're watching it right now. It's a beautiful goal by Henrique.
Yeah, it is.
And then he gets run over by Kane.
Kane buries him there. Like, he buries him there.
But you know what? McNabb pushes him into him. Like, I would argue going, what are you doing as a defenseman? You're literally pushing a guy on top of your goaltender from behind. And Kane's not going to go, sorry, I'm going to try and stop here from the push. The minute he feels it, he goes, I'm pot committed. I'm going through the goalie
Absolutely.
Here. So
that's a good play, man. I mean, that's the thing with you look at the Leafs tonight.
Yeah.
You can't do it intentionally, but the old accidentally on purpose is always a good play with goalies in the playoffs. I mean, you can speak to it. There isn't a goalie alive. It's like quarterbacks. No goalie likes getting hit. No one wants to be touched. No one wants to have because it just plants a little seed. Like, this guy's in my peripheral and he's moving, and it's something I gotta believe Berube is advocating for. Like, if you get a chance at a scrum, get in there. Like, I'm not talking about a fighting scrum with the opponent, with the other players. I'm saying if there's a puck loose, jump on it, battle for it, push them, get a little accidental on purpose, because Bennett did that to your guy. Yeah. Like, it was, I'm coming through and I don't know where he is. I got him. Sorry. Like that was 4 games ago. Yeah. Bob's due for a response like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone on the Leafs, and I don't know who that is. It's not in the nature of their best players to do it. But is it Nyes? Is it Pacioretty? Is it someone on the bottom 6? Just make him uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, you've got to try something, because it's do or die starting tonight. You got a best 2 out of 3, and Bob, if he's coming alive, that's a scary proposition. Frankie Corrado in studio in about 20 minutes. Mark Masters from the rink in 45. Game 5 right here on TSN Radio. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Frankie Corrado coming up. He'll join us in studio. Get to our best bets. Same game parlay for the Leaf game tonight. Obviously, the Leafs are taking up a lot of oxygen. It's going to be crazy downtown because the Jays are playing tonight too, right? Game 2 of their series, and last night it was a great game last night. Their bats are really, really coming alive, and it was spoiled. It's too bad. But Jeff Hoffman, he 3 of his last 5 outings have been disastrous. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He's getting hit. He's giving up home runs.
It's not good.
Yeah, gave up 5 last night in the 9th inning, blew the save. And they almost put it together in the bottom of the 9th, but they need Santander to snap out of it. And he was worthy. He came out swinging last night. He was down 0-2 in a count pretty quickly in the 9th, and that was his opportunity to really put a stamp on, like, all right, I'm here. We've arrived. We've won 4 in a row. This is going to be 5 in a row, but they just couldn't get it done. But you got game 2 of that series tonight. Of course, Leafs Panthers downtown tonight at Scotiabank. And I referenced this report, which crazy season in the NBA, even though the NBA continues, right? You got a couple of games tonight. The Knicks looking to close things out, even though they're an underdog, which I was surprised by. I get it's in Boston, and Boston's a championship team, but Tatum's done. And yet the Knicks are laying points at the Garden tonight. And then you got Minnesota looking to take over Golden State and end that series. But there was a report earlier today that Giannis, who we believe is exploring options outside of Milwaukee, prefers to stay in the Eastern Conference, which I would not be surprised by because the West is just nasty. Like the Western Conference is so loaded, it's so good, and the East is wide open.
Yeah.
And one reporter reporting, quote, 2 teams that have emerged as destinations of interest for the 2-time MVP are the Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets.
Wow.
Yes, so here we go, Noodles. The idea of Giannis wanting to end up in Toronto, and that was something we talked about years ago.
Yes.
Right? We talked about it a lot 3 years ago. We thought, okay, Giannis, Masai, his connection to Masai. Yep. He loves Toronto. He's always talked about the city. He's a European guy. There's a lot of flair here. He's Greek. There's a huge Greek community in Toronto. But I don't know. I don't know how it would work in terms of the asset. You'd have to give up a ton to get him, clearly.
And they're in a bottom-out rebuild type of thing. Like
Well, this would change that, clearly.
It
right?
would. It would fast-track it, but do you literally just flush a lot of the prospects that you have and young guys and go for him and then start to sign guys that want to play with Giannis? Like, is that what – and sign and trade for guys?
I think so. And, personally, I'm an advocate of this. Like, the last few years, they've done the bottoming out, and it hasn't gotten them anywhere in terms of the draft. Right, in terms of, like, they took Jacoby Walter last year. They took Grady Dick the year before. They got the 9th pick this year.
Yeah.
It's just building through the draft is very difficult to do. The question, the fit is a question more for who would go because you're going to build around Giannis, clearly. Like, if you acquire Giannis, then you figure that out. But you just acquired Brandon Ingram and signed him. How does it work with Scotty and Ingram and Giannis? 3 guys that are built in a similar fashion. None of them are going to play the point. None of them are centers.
Right.
You got R.J. Barrett here, which is a guy that I think you'd probably move off of if this became a reality. But for me, I'm an advocate of going out and chasing it because you get guys like this only so often that are available, like a Kawhi. They're not built the way they were in 19, and I think that's what you're saying. That this is not a Kawhi Leonard away or a Giannis Antetokounmpo away from winning a championship. It would be more than that. But if he wants to be here and he wants to commit to you, then he's probably here for the foreseeable future. Well, it's not a one-and-done situation.
It's not. My concern is now, he's 30.
Yep.
Does he have, like...
I think he's got a good 5 years left in him.
I was just going to say, so what would you be a realistic explanation or
expectation,
expectation to have for him?
Oh, I think you got a 5-year window, and I think that's an eternity in pro sports, and it's even more than an eternity in the NBA. Yeah. Like the NBA moves so quickly. Now it's changing with the CBA has changed and the ability to build, super teams and the penalties for spending a certain amount of money and how you can allocate your money and the contracts and all that kind of stuff. It's changing in the NBA.
Right.
But I think if you get Giannis at 30, you're getting 5 great years. And you look at what's going on in pro sports, man. Like it's just a different look at LeBron at 40 years old. Steph is 37, 38. He's still playing great. Yeah. And it's not only in the NBA. Every sport's got it. Like maybe you get 7, 8 great years out of Giannis.
Well, and the game's changed, though. It's all threes. It's a little bit different. There's load management now.
Very true.
So maybe you're right. Maybe you can get 7, 8 years. But I think the biggest thing is if you can get him, you go, yeah, we'll take him.
Yes.
Or not take him, that's the wrong wording. You know what I mean. We'll get him, and then we'll change the plan.
Exactly
we'll change the plan around him.
He's a plan changer.
Yes.
That's what Giannis is. It doesn't have to be any deeper than that.
Right.
You know, do they have enough shooting? No, they still don't. And Giannis is not coming in shooting the ball. Like, he's not a guy that's going to load up on 3 points and, 3-point balls, and that's not his game. We know who he is. We know what he is. He's a dominant force in many different areas, but shooting is not necessarily a forte of his. So you'd have to improve in that area. How does he fit with Scotty? How does he fit, again, with Ingram you just acquired and signed? Is quickly a guy you can trust to play the point? Does Pirtle become more valuable moving forward if you bring in a guy like that? These are all questions that Messiah and company would have to figure out. But it starts with getting him, paying the price, and then you figure it out.
And then you would have to think, if you get him, somebody else, a big player in the league will go, I'll go play with that guy.
That's very possible too, right? Giannis is one of the 5 or 6 best players in the game.
Right.
Like he's a needle mover, Giannis.
Right.
So I'm all for doing whatever you have to do to acquire him, and then you figure it out later.
Yeah.
I've had enough of the last 3 or 4 years playing out the way they've played out.
That's fair.
All right, final hour coming up. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.